Oh, mummy. Oh, God. My first number one movie has to be. Come on, man. Fucking bastard. We may forget that. Leave us up there a minute. Morning, Richard. I've no music, me fucking stomach, bro, is in a jocker. I just got off the toilet, bro, I'm not joking you, I'm fucking bleeding. Yeah. Let me get a bit of this on the old grind there. Yeah, honestly, it's been a shitty 2 days. You know, especially when I know I won't go to the funeral, you know. The funeral, where he's getting buried, it's Palmerstown graveyard. The fact that I can't go over there because 7 of my friends in that graveyard. 13 if you want to talk about acquaintances, you know. But yeah, it's a motherfucker. It's a hard pill to swallow when you get on with these. Like I get on with some. You probably have seen him around, Richard, because where you live, everybody knew Keith, you know, and not many people fuck with him. He was a big lad, you know, big strong lad, you know. But once radiotherapy stops working and chemotherapy stops working, there's nothing you can do. You can have the best doctors in the world, but if there's no cure, like I said, cancer 4th stage, it's very aggressive, and this cancer was very fucking aggressive, man. Within 3 months of him being diagnosed, he passed on, you know. So, all the lads now in Clondalkin, I know what they'll do. You know, the day of his funeral, they'll all turn up in sulkies. You know what I mean? Because he loved his horses, right? You know, he loved the horses, bless him, you know. But it'll be a big funeral that I won't think my 2 brothers might be going. I tell you what, if this carries on, I'll be next. Hey, they're all that size, except Deco. Git is the biggest one, then Keith, then Thomas, then Alan, then Deco. But like I said, everybody knew them in Clondalkin, you know what I mean? He drank in Finches. All my family drank in Finches. You know. Yeah, he was a big fucking fella, like, you know what I mean? It's all that Irish food, Richard. You know, but he was well loved and he'd be well missed. You know what I mean? Like, he leaves behind 5 brothers. 4 brothers. You know, there was 5 of them. Everybody knows these particular brothers in Clondalkin. Richard, remember a few years ago, a bomb was put on the side of a house in Quarryvale? Remember that years ago in Clondalkin, somebody put a bomb on the side of someone's house? That was my cousin's house. They put a pipe bomb on the side of the gas box. And he blew a hole inside the wall. Lucky enough there was no one in there. He would have been dead. They're all good lads. You know, Irish. Depending who you ask. We're wearing all black today. You know, it wouldn't surprise me if at his funeral loads of the lads turn up in sulkies and all. Like, you know, it's like a respect thing. You know, we'll have a very big funeral, and I'll tell you one thing, there'll be a lot of people at this funeral. You know, I'm lucky enough to have a big family in Ireland. Long story short, I've a lot in common with my grandfather. He bred 9 children, and they were all raised on Landon Road in Ballyfermot. I have an Uncle Joe. Everyone knows him in Clondalkin, Joe Knowles. He's in his 70s, and he'd put youngsters to shame in the gym. Like, he's nearly 70 years old, and you want to see the weight he lifts. He's been training since he was 11 years old to go into the army. He went into the army just like my Uncle Christy did. Except for my Uncle Christy got a medal. Like, years ago in Lebanon, like my uncle told me, I remember him being drunk and listening to him ramble on. No, nobody gives a fuck. You know, you're not wrong about that. But if you have family around you, Lila, you're okay, you know. But anyway, you look about 12, so I'm going to remove you. Not just for being rude, but for being rude and for being silly. Don't play me. Shout out to India. Good morning, Mina. So can I say, after a long week, my shit tasted bad for the food. Listen to me right here. That's fucking bestiality. Get the fuck out of here with that. You know, Fran Noel Trombalia, no way. That's me uncle. That's me mammy's brother. Do you know Wayne and Joseph? Richard, do you know who I got a friend request from yesterday? Christopher Boylan. You know the way my uncle Fran married a Boylan, didn't he? Dolores Boylan. And he's got two sons who are very successful property developers. Bro, what are your thoughts on studying a bachelor's of maps with a major in mapping? What do I think? I take you've already done your degree. So, can I ask you something, Mr. Buns? Have you got a normal degree as it is? And then you're going on to do your bachelor's? Is that what you're saying? In major mapping. Well, bro, listen to me, fair play to you. That's a very hard degree to take. Mapping. So I'd already imagine I know the same Boylans, but not sure if it's the same family. There's Paddy, there's Celine, there's Christy, Celine. They all grew up in Bluebell as well, the Boylans. So myself, them, and a couple of other families moved up to Ballier around the same time. You know, Paddy Boylan, Gip Boylan, Sil Boylan. You know, there's a few of them. Yeah, I didn't know you knew me Uncle Fran. Morning, Daniel. Yeah. But I don't speak to them as much as I should. You know, there was a bit of a split in my family many years ago because a few of my family condemned me because I was a drug addict. They put me down. They slandered me name. And then addiction hit their family. I was the black sheep of my family. I was the first one in my entire family to get involved with drugs and to bring trouble to me mother's door. You know, I did from 15 to 21 in a way. Well, let's say 15 to 19 before I moved back to here. I moved into the city centre. I couldn't get a fucking job. I'd £800 to me name. I had a few quid hid for me bail in case I got nicked. My ex-mother-in-law put the bail up for me and I was gone. But before I went, I bought £800 worth of yak and I tripled me money in the day. And then I invested the money I made into more. You know, because there's no point in having a dog in yourself. You know, I hadn't got me friends to back me. I hadn't got the backing of Ballier because I was independent. You know, and I took it upon myself to step on people's toes that I didn't even know I was stepping on. You know, when you're an addict, you don't think of these things, you know, and it's like, I don't know what it is with myself and my family. We have a lot of fucking characteristics. Like, I started selling drugs at 15, allegedly. Ecstasy. My friends sold a bit of pot. And I knew that there was more money to be made, and I wanted to bring a few of my mates with me, and I did. Ian Gibbons and Neil Douglas and Paul Douglas, four of us. Paul's dead now. Ian still lives in or Neil still lives in Finglas. Yeah. I always wanted to be part of something. I felt like I belonged somewhere. I fucked up my military career because of the choices I made. You know, I was destined to go to the army. You know, according to other people, I was built for it. Some people are built for situations and some people are not. Some people panic under duress. Do you understand? Some people panic when they're getting fired at and they get that shell shock where they can't move. You know, when you see dead bodies, getting sick, when you're seeing children blown to pieces. Imagine that. You know, I remember talking to my Uncle Christy years ago, and he was pissed as fuck. And he started telling me about what he'd seen over there. Over the time, he told me that on this particular morning, they all went out on patrol, and anybody who's a soldier will tell you this, before you go out on active duty, you write a little note to your family saying, listen, if you're reading this, I'm dead. I don't want you to cry over me, you know, and I want you to move on with your life. You know, I've always wanted to be a soldier, and reading this, I've truly fulfilled my potential because I'm dead. And I'll be watching over you. Now, it never changes. But on that morning, my uncle had a bad feeling. He told me about it. And listen, I see things before they happen. It's about neutralising a threat. My uncle told me that morning, in the whole 18 months that he was in Lebanon, he never had a bad day where he woke up and he said, you know what, today someone's gonna die. The other day, I swear, on me baby's life, on me mother and sister's graves, on me granny and me dead brother and sister, and on me Uncle Christy's graves. Wednesday, I woke up and said to myself, someone's gonna die today. Don't ask me how, but I just had this unsettling feeling something bad was gonna happen. You know, and within a few hours of getting that thought, I had a phone call to say my cousin was given 2 hours. He ended up staying for about another hour and 10 minutes after that phone call, and then I got another phone call to say he died. And everybody up in Clondalkin knows this man. If you're drinking Finches, you'll know him, and you'll know his entire family and mine. 1/3 of my family drinking Finches. You know, my mother was raised on Landon Road with 9 siblings, 5 girls and 4 lads. James Knowles, Christy Knowles, Fran Knowles and Joe Knowles. Fran, Christy, Joe, Jamesy. And then there's Mary, Rita, Carmel, Trish, and then Jane, my ma. Spencer McDermott, I got your message this morning about 2:30, but bro, I was asleep. I heard me phone dinging. Thanks for your message. Spencer didn't even know until he seen me posting, and now Spencer lives in Clondalkin. Spencer knows all me family, you know, and you have to understand something about me. I don't come on here calling people names and calling people out. Listen, everybody knows somebody, right? But I know a lot of somebodies. Me cousin is going to be buried in grave, Palmerstown Cemetery. Do you know many mates me and Spencer have in that graveyard? I can't visit them all. As soon as I walk in that graveyard, I can hear me mates talking. My uncle Packy did a few tours over there too, so did my cousins. Well, you know, I went to school in Inchicore, Richard, yeah? And one day we were all brought into assembly. And I lived in Bluebell as a kid, right? Now, a few men from Bluebell served their country, right? And one of them who lived in this name might not mean anything to you, or you might have heard it before. Derek Smallhorn from Bluebell, right? This is what my uncle told me. There was a fella called from Bluebell called Bull, another one called Pouchy, another one called Glenna, the Galstons, Jay Galston and his big brother, right? So, my uncle had a bad feeling on this day, Richard, yeah? And he changed his note altogether. And it's something that soldiers don't do, bro, because it's bad luck to jinx the mission. You know, they were at the going over a second time. This was the second tour. I think he went over in 1980, right? They stayed over there for 18 months. They weren't shot upon. They weren't fucking, you know, they went over there to help the people because the aid wasn't getting through. You see, organisations like Good Samaritans, organisations like the Salvation Army, all organisations like the British Red Cross were sending funding over. They were landing at airports, getting taken off B-52s, and they were getting transported to villages, but they were getting hijacked, you know, by gunpoint. Who was ever driving the trucks with the aid in it were either getting kept hostage or shot dead. And all they wanted to do was to make sure some of the kids got food and water, because the one thing war creates overnight is refugees. Okay, and you have a lot of women, children and elderly that suffer because of the repercussions of war. You know, but anyway, the second time he went over there, listen, they were giving the children candy, sweets, you know, taking pictures with them. And what they didn't realise was the night before, a few radicals had planted IEDs on the road that they were going to be on the next day. So my uncle told me, he said, Jude, have you ever seen what explosives does to steel? You know, he said, I had a bad feeling. We were going out on convoy. They went to turn onto a village, right? And they noticed a big fuck-off spill. Like, you know when you spill oil and it's being covered over, right? So, Sergeant Major tells his team, come on. Now, what they should have done was firing one of them rope chargers 200 feet away. Fire them on. And hiding behind your fucking Saracen or your tank. You know, throwing a charge, Richard, that goes across the ground and you press it, and if there's anything along that stretch, it'll explode it. You know what I mean? Because improvised explosive devices, bro, you can remote them, you can detonate them remotely. You can do it through a phone. You can do it a few ways, right? But anyway, long story short, they went out that morning and they took fire. They were getting shot at. You know, they went over an IED. Fucking one of the vehicles got ripped up like a tin can. But they lost a couple of men that day. You know what I mean? They were getting shot at, and it's like they were taking serious fire. They were getting hit with RPGs, grenades. And my uncle told me, he said, next of all, there was just this big bang. And he was on the ground. His 2 ears were bleeding. A secondary device went off, you know, and it's like, it cut them off, because what happened was, they're running towards the fire, but a couple of them got cut off from the others. So that day, Derek Smallhorn ended up getting killed, and I was in his class in school, you know, his little son, Derek Smallhorn Senior, and he had a son called Derek, you know, and I'll never forget it. It's like my whole class was brought into assembly in the Oblats, and they said, like, we've got really bad news. One of our comrades, 2 of our comrades died over there, and one of them is one of our classmates' dad, Derek Smallhorn. I remember they had a funeral for him or something, you know, like, he come back, like, do you know what's mad? From what I've been told, like, can you imagine being in a road? There you go. That's it, an incendiary device, a secondary one. Richard, they went over there to help people, bro, and they shot at them. Tried to blow them up. In fact, they did it. You know, I remember going out to Baldonnel Airport as a kid. The very first time my uncle stepped off that plane. You know, he got a medal as well. You know, and so did a lot of other lads. But the second time they went over there, you know, my granny always said, Richard, yeah, he never come home. Half of them is still over there. You know, you don't forget shit like that. Seeing kids getting blown up. And here, do you know what they do over there? When there's a roadside bomb or an IED that's activated in your blast radius, if you're within feet of that, it's gonna fucking blow everything up, and all your lungs are gonna fucking blow up, mate. It's like, it does something. It's like the aftershock of a volcano or an earthquake, you know. But I always wanted to be a soldier after that, you know. From 8 years old, I had one goal in life, and it was to be a soldier like me uncle, you know. I wanted to go over and put a hole in the sun of the man that killed Derek Smallhorn. And this is what I'm saying. A lot of my mates, when we were kids, we were like, we want to join the army. You know, we'll get to travel the world, and it's like, you know, I'll get to do something my grandfather and a couple of my uncles did, you know. Like I said, it's like, you know, soldiers, they've got an awful job, because just imagine, yeah, you're a soldier. You go to war and you see shit happening over there that you wouldn't see happening in Europe. You know, have people that are getting executed, you know, people that are being threatened if they don't put an IED around them or a suicide vest, that they're gonna kill their daughters. You know, what you meant to do with that? You know, but like I said, a lot of lads went over there. They were only kids when they went over there, young men. And what they seen over there, they can never unsee. It never went away. And a few of them ended up taking their life. You look at how many soldiers take their life because they see kids getting blown to pieces. And then the parents are grabbing blankets and they're putting body pieces in a fucking blanket and throwing it onto the back of a truck. You know, like, it's horrendous. The one thing that I don't like about war, it causes refugees and casualties. You know, overnight, millions of people, like, look what happened in Syria. Overnight, 5 million people, women and children here, they never asked for this. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, you know, nobody wants to live in fear. Like, here's how it is. When in Rome, I'm old-fashioned. I've got old-fashioned values and principles. In a lot of these countries, you have Hamas, ISIS, the Taliban, Hezbollah, Mossad. 5 organisations there. Terror organisations, right? And over there, under Islamic law, under Sharia law, if you steal an apple, you'll get your hand cut off. You see, in Afghanistan in the 80s, it was 75% Taliban, 15% Northern Alliance, and 10% normal civilians. They all look the same. Like, one of my favourite war movies has to be Lone Survivor, about Marcus Terrell, okay? When they were over there, they were compromised because they were trying to get comms and they were doing recon and they were sending information back via laptop. They were looking at this geezer and he was after killing 30 soldiers the week before, lopped their heads off. He was a significant target, you know. They had a deck of cards and he was number 1. So they had to, while they were up there observing, you know, and sending back data and comms, and then facial recognition in order to get the confirmation. You've got a green light, fire at will. You know, he's top of their list. Long story short, as they're doing their comms, they hear bells in the distance, and it's goats, 2 goats, okay? And one of them farmers stops to have a piss and ends up pissing in a bush that a soldier's in. So they break cover, so they're seriously compromised now. You have 3 farmers, one old timer with a beard, a scholar, an Islamic fucking elder, and then you have a youngster. Now, they're all talking what's going to happen. You've got 3 here. You've got 3 choices. Pack up. This mission is over now. Our mission is compromised. What are we going to do with them? If we let them go, they're going to run down there and tell the Taliban that there's 4 fucking soldiers up here, you know. And Mike Murphy was the highest ranked officer, right? So 1 or 2 of the soldiers, Mark Wahlberg, are like, let's just stick a couple of bullets in them. He's like, you know what the Geneva Convention is? If you kill unarmed civilians, you'll go to Lucasville. You know, you'll be fucked. Federal jail, it's a crime. So they had 3 options. Number 1, tie them up. Number 2, release them. Or number 3, neutralize the threat. If they shoot them dead, as long as they agree not to talk about it, because you go to prison for life. So Mike Murphy made a calculated decision to let them go. As soon as they let them go, one of them ran all the way down to the valleys. All these Taliban leaders from all over the province. They use walkie-talkies. He sent the fucking order. He said, listen, we've got 4 soldiers on the mountain. Mike Murphy went up to try get comms. Okay, in order for an evac ASAP. We need an evac ASAP, right? He ended up climbing to the top of the ridge and looking over. And on the opposite side of the mountain, it's covered with Talibanis. And they're firing RPGs at him. But, yeah, great movie. And Mark Wahlberg, he played Marcus Terrell. Wait, you hear this Afghani man come out and help Mark Wahlberg. And Mark Wahlberg's like, you Taliban, he'll fucking kill you. No Taliban. Come. No Taliban. This farmer, there's a tradition in Afghanistan. It's called Pashwani. And it's thousands of years old. If I invite you into my house, if anybody comes looking for you, even if you're a soldier, I have to protect you because you're my guest. Do you understand? A lot of these people get an awful time because they're Muslim. This man helped a US soldier, first of all, from getting decapitated. He fired his AK over the guy. The guy said, I'll be back and I'll kill you and all your villages. You know, and he declared Pashwani. And Mark Wahlberg had a grenade in his hand. He was out there watching all his mates get shot to death. A lot of them took on heavy fire, and a few of them were shot over 5 times. But because they're frogmen and they're seals, they're solid, right? But anyway, that man, he ended up helping him get a visa and coming to America. You know, Marcus Terrell would have died. If you look at the scenes in it, okay, and he's tumbling down and his leg bones are sticking out and what have you. Anyway, this Taliban guy comes, drags him out, puts his head down, and he's going to cut his head off, and this village elder saves his life. But, listen, I'm going to bounce. Thanks for coming in. I love war shit. You know, I know a lot about it. You know, I did me due diligence. That's Jude, fucking diligence. How are you, Pablo? But like I said, I like watching shit about war, you know. Yeah, the grand Pablo. It's Lisa's dad's birthday today, you know, so she's a little bit low today. But Pablo, can you do me a favour? Can you make Francie a video? Hey, do you see his parrots? Pablo, listen, he wants somebody to adopt a parrot. Do you reckon you'd be able to do that? Pablo, I know you'd love a parrot. Come on, bro. You know. And I reckon Francie would give it to you. Hey, Pablo, you know we're about in here, right? Helping Irish channels as well as everyone else. Look at all the channels that I said to you people. I said, see these guys? These will have a good channel. I said it with Finn. And I said it with Pablo. And I said it with Francie. I said it with Jordan. Jono. A few people have gone missing. Even Chopper's gone missing. But Pablo, this is the whole thing about networking. I tried to learn Finn. And then Finn got it. And I have the people from Dublin for each other. But I had a bit of sad news the other day. Me mammy's sister's son, he died, bro. He was battling cancer for 12 weeks and he lost the fight the other night, you know. So I'm a bit upset about that too. I've got black on me nose. Is it gone? But Pablo, listen to me, it's hard when you lose people, you know. Like I'm very family orientated. Well, there you go, Pablo. Do you understand? Like it's always been about putting a few Irish people together, and I've managed to do that, and I'll continue to do it. Pablo, 7,300 videos I hit yesterday. You know, the channel has never got stuck in the mud. It's always moved. You know the way a few people's channels got stuck in the mud. Like no names. You know that gobshite from Cork who said he'd get 7,000 subs off the back of fucking, you know what I mean? Hey, neither does Mr. Beast. Hey, I should get a YouTube medal. You know, all I want is a shed. But I'm gonna make some breakfast. Like I said, it's a shitty week, honestly. You know, it's Lisa's dad's birthday today, and when our folks aren't here, you miss them. And this is why I always say, you know, I'm glad Finn listened to me and spoke to his ma, you know, 'cause Pablo, once they're gone, and I'll say this, see, Pablo, he's a bleeding credit to his fucking country. He's a credit to his parents. He's a good son, you know. And I know it's gonna upset him when they go, you know. And when they go, it's not hard. Oh, sorry, it's very hard to accept, you know. But like I said, shout out to everybody that's supported me since I started this channel, you know. I put a few people together that I believe in. Listen, you can't rush greatness, and it takes ages to grow a good YouTube channel, but I like to see Irish channels growing, especially Dublin ones, and I'll do my bit. And my bit is every video I make, I put everybody's description in it that I get along with. I pinched a few of Finn's just to add a few more to the list. But I believe Francie could have a great channel. I know that, you know, just like Finn, Pablo could have a great channel too if he wanted to go live. Pablo's fucking not far off 900 either. But listen, yeah, I'll be back on later on. Like I said, me fucking head, I've got about 10 different things going on inside at the moment. I might go fishing in a bit for half an hour, I'll see, but I'm gonna go make some breakfast for me family, so I hope you all have a good Friday. Finn will be live soon, I'd imagine, and Francie will be live. Francie, I've caught two of them. It's just like at the minute I can't focus, you know, and it's like, yeah, like today is a fucking hard day. Not for me, for Lisa, but it's hard, you know, 'cause like I said, you don't forget, you know, when people die, that's the one thing, man, you have to suck it up, and, you know, but anyway, thanks for coming in, everybody, and I'll talk to you all later on. I hope you have a good Friday, and we'll have a catch up this evening. And there's something I want to talk about later. Spencer McDermott, I got your message. Spencer didn't even know Keith was dead. Spencer lives in Clondalkin, bro, and he knows everybody up there, and he knows all the people that live in, or that are from Clondalkin that drink in me cousin's local finches, like. And like I said, there was 5 boys: Keith, Deco, Alan, Thomas, and Git, and now there's 4. You know, and it's sad because my auntie's broken and all my family are broken over it, you know what I mean? He fought till the end. Chemotherapy didn't work, radiotherapy didn't work. you know, but at the end he made sure that he was on enough medication so he didn't feel much pain, you know. It got in his bones everywhere. Anyway, listen to me. We woke up today, thank God. So I'll talk to you all later. We out. Right.